is necessary in order to develop insight into Nibbana. So there are 8 jhanas, and they're all pretty intense. The first one is called the absorption of both bliss and joy in body and mind with sustained thought. So this is sort of the equivalent. Basically, the idea is just like, some philosophers of mind talk about from an ideal reasoning point of view. The idea here is that it's deep meditation, and it's very pleasant in the mental structure. There's a lot of pleasant sensation there, and the body is very pleasant, very subtle sensations in the body. It feels it's very peaceful. And there's also sustained thought, very clear thought. Okay? Now the second jhana, this thought goes away. The thought subsides, but the bliss in body and mind remain. Okay? Then the bliss of mind recedes, and a tranquility of mind arises, and there's pleasant feeling in the body. And then after that, the fourth jhana, this is the most important one, is pure equanimity. Okay, so after this point, pleasure, pain, joy, and sorrow are sort of transcended in a sense. Okay? And these are called the mundane jhanas because, as you notice, they sort of explicate a level of meditative focus which is concerned with the contact of mind and matter. Okay? And these are the yonic levels of absorption necessary to realize Nibbana. Now the next 4 are called supermundane because they're immaterial states. This is the idea here is that consciousness achieves a level of focus which takes it beyond the body, right? And there's the base of infinite space, the base of infinite consciousness, the base of nothingness, and the base of neither perception nor non-perception. These kinds of meditative states were practiced by the Hindu yogis that were working in India at the time when the Buddha was practicing. And he studied with 2 very famous ascetics at the time who were both adepts at the 7th and 8th jhanas. Very deep meditative focus. And he realized, no, this isn't it. I can't achieve liberation from the deep miseries of life through these. All you need is the 4th, because liberation from misery comes by understanding the contact of mind and matter at the experiential level. You can't experience that if you're outside the body. So that's sort of the beginner's guide to yonic meditation. Now, the many layers of samsara, this is sort of the metaphysical path, right? Nibbana is no jhana, but nor is it any realm of samsara, right? And there are many realms. There's a material world that we live in, the fine material world. This is sort of, imagine, I guess this would be like what we conceive of as angels. It's nothing like that, right? There's not some, there's not some fine material self that lives on forever. That's not Nibbana. And it's not the formless immaterial world either. It's not some, just 1 second, 1 second. It's not some, it's not some realization of some transpersonal grounding, like a Hegelian absolute or a Neoplatonic one. It's nothing like that. Yes?
I'm just wondering if the world form could be seen as like the world of kind of conceptual structures and that sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. That's an absolutely excellent way of thinking about it for sure.
Something about that, I'm not missed it, but you said that Buddha wasn't really concerned about all this philosophy. But it seems like a lot of people for a long time have been developing this. It seems like this is very, very developed. If it's not important to achieving the state that we want us to achieve, then why did all those adherents develop all this?
Well, it's a good question. The level of meditation that you need to achieve in order to reach the level of an arhat, complete eradication of the 10 fetters, that involves this kind of stuff. Okay? The Buddha taught a path which ended the cycle of rebirth. That was the problem, right? It's an axiomatic truth for the Buddha that there is a world beyond this one. And in fact, the belief that there isn't, there are 2 extreme views for the Buddha. He calls them annihilationism and eternalism. Okay? Annihilationism in our modern context is materialism. The view that there's matter, and then you die at the end of your life and it's over, and that's it, nothing. And essentialism, or eternalism, is the opposite view, that there's an eternal, substantial soul which doesn't change and lives forever. It's like, no, neither one of those are right. And for the Buddha, it's just a fact that you realize in meditation. It's just like, no, there are lives beyond this one. When the Buddha achieved his liberation, he had 3 knowledges under the tree he was meditating under. The first knowledge he had was recollection of all his past lives. The second knowledge he had was awareness of the arising and passing away of beings everywhere. And the third one was penetration of the 4 Noble Truths. So, like I said, this kind of stuff, I'm just trying to show you the program, right? And I understand, because we're coming from a very, very naturalistic oriented philosophy of mind and science in this contemporary world, that, you know, maybe the relevance of this stuff is a moot point for someone who maybe just wants to learn how to meditate and live a happy life. Stop reacting to all the negativities you see in the world. And that's so true, right? But for someone who wants to shave their head, give up all their possessions, take robes, and like achieve final liberation, this is relevant stuff. And I'm trying to show you the whole scheme. I don't want to cut it all out. I want to pretend that Buddhism is some sort of like humanistic naturalism. It's not. It's just not. And people who try to pretend that it is are really confused, because it's very clear when you read the text that that's what's going on. And that doesn't mean that we can't take certain elements and use them for our own lives. But my job, and what I think is the responsible thing to do, is to take the Buddha on his own terms. And if we're going to adopt his philosophical psychology in order to purify our own minds, we have to understand that he said a lot of other things along with that. And he said them for a reason. And it wasn't just to appease Hindu mystics at the time. Okay? Because when you look at the actual conceptual architecture of the teaching, as I already said, it's axiomatic that there's a world beyond this one. It's axiomatic that consciousness is a fundamental natural kind, which constantly recycles itself forever. Like, that's the problem for Buddha. Right? It's like we have to get out of this, because all we do is suffer.
Let's take a break.
Break?
Yeah.
Okay. Take a break, sure.
It seems like a